Welcome to the Enlightenment Evolution Hour. I am your host, Rob Gauthier, the ET Whisperer. The Enlightenment Evolution Hour is a part of the Enlightenment Evolution Network. Any ideas or opinions expressed by myself, the guest, or a caller may not necessarily reflect the same opinions of the Enlightenment Evolution Network. Enlightenment defined. It's the state of giving and receiving greater knowledge and understanding about a certain subject or situation. Evolution defined. The gradual development of something, especially from a simple to a more complex form. So what then is Enlightenment Evolution? The state of giving and receiving greater knowledge as we develop from a simple to a more complex human being, living on Earth for our soul's experience. Welcome now and join us as we explore our Enlightenment Evolution Hour together. Hey everybody, this is the Enlightenment Evolution Hour. I'm your host, Rob Gauthier. Welcome to another Wednesday, beautiful evening. Thank you all for coming today. Today, we have a wonderful, wonderful guest with a huge announcement that is going to benefit our community hugely. I know I've been teasing around about this a little bit here and there in the last few weeks' shows, but tonight is the night. And we have the green light to talk about this special project that's coming up that I'm going to be a part of, and that is going to be amazing. So it's going to be a huge night tonight, and we'll bring in Sheila very soon. Before we get to that, we got to do announcements. I wanted to let everybody know who joined into the ET Whisperer newsletter that I appreciate very greatly. Through that appreciation, we gave some nice discounts for sessions, for all of our digital downloadable media that's out there. We really appreciate you guys joining the newsletter, and because social media is all over the place and people kind of choose their social media paths, and they've diverted so greatly in the last 5 to 10 years compared to what it was 5 or 10 years ago, where you had a few platforms to choose from and it was easy to kind of cover all of them. The newsletter seems to be the most centralized and best way to do it, so we're doing the newsletter again. If you want to sign up to the newsletter, you can go to etwhisper.com and just stick around the website for about 30 seconds and it'll pop up saying, do you want to add yourself to the newsletter? You want to subscribe? And you say yes or no. And if you do, sign your email, your name, all that good stuff, and you will join, and you'll have the opportunity to get whatever discounts, but also very important announcements that we do through there. It's a monthly newsletter, and we also do extras whenever we have new information. And we'll do that at the last weekend of each month, sharing what's coming up in the new month. It's been really exciting. The last one was great. A lot of great people participated. A lot of great people shared, their own interpretations, experience of it. And a lot of people took up the opportunities to receive all the things there, the discounts and benefits that they got from being there. So thank you guys for those of you who joined. As for the ET Whisper announcements, there's not a ton of them besides the newsletter, besides what we're going to talk about a little bit tonight. That's really great and exciting. But also, we have sorry, I'm looking at the calendar. I believe it's going to be September 24th or 25th. I don't have it in front of me, but it's the last weekend of next month. Our channeling class will be back, our monthly channeling class. People who joined last class should have already gotten an email about it. If you go to etwhisper.com/classes, you can join up for next month's group channeling class. We teach you techniques in channeling. We take questions from everybody there about channeling, about what you want to do to try to channel, to work towards channeling, to open your channeling, and all the techniques that I personally use or that Trevor Ardiff have taught me to teach others, or any of those things we cover. And we bring in a lot of really good information there. Everyone who's joined has really enjoyed the benefit of that class. So that'll be opening back up. Announcements for the Enlightenment Evolution Hour. We have amazing lineup of guests. We're almost filled to the end of the year already, guys. And instead of last week of going through almost 10 minutes of explaining a little bit about everybody, I'll make it real quick tonight. Next week, we have Daniel James from Tragic Hero Productions. That's on the 7th of September. On the 14th of September, we'll have the one and only Lee Harris. On the 21st of September, Kalina Angel, the most amazing channeler, the most amazing, beautiful sunshine of my life. And on the 28th, we're going to have Michael Lee Hill. He's the guy who did the UFO footage over the Great Lakes. And he's had contact. Amazing guy. After that, we're going to have Gordon Goosenberry on the 5th. He's from the Xena Project, which is a really amazing thing. He's not a part of our community, but we're going to talk more about that when he gets here. Chris Matthews from Forbidden Knowledge News on the 12th of October. On the 19th of October, we're going to have Faust Checho from Far Out with Faust podcast. I've been a guest on his podcast before. Amazing. On the 26th, we're going to have Shelley Young from Trinity Esoterics, a great channeler, a great friend. On the 2nd of November, we're going to have Ruben Langdon from Interview with Extra Dimensionals. Then we're going to have Daniel Scranton, the channeler, a good friend of ours, on the 9th of November. And on the 16th, Michaela Sheldon, another great channeler, another great person. We're going to have a chat with her. On the 23rd, we're going to have the Adam Twister. I don't know if any of you know who he is, but he is deeply a part of our community, an amazing guy. On the 30th of November, we're going to have Ryder Lee from Raised by the Giants podcast coming on. And then we've got a couple people in the December that we just have to find time slots because they're not able to come on live. And we're going to have those people showing up. So that's for the Enlightenment Evolution Hour. I'm trying to think. I know there's something that I'm missing. If I can't think about it now, it really doesn't matter. What does matter is who we have here today. Now, Sheila Seppi is an amazing person. I've gotten to know her a couple years ago. We had a mutual friend, Miguel Mendonça, who had worked with books with both of us before. I had done a chapter on one of his books a long time ago with his Being with the Beings in the Meet the Hybrid series, which was really amazing. And Sheila and him were working on a project together, Walk-ins, The Cosmology of the Soul, another amazing book that Sheila wrote. And I also did a chapter on there. Miguel introduced us. She fell in love with the information that RDF had shared. And I did a chapter for her book too. It's an amazing book. And since then, we've got to know each other. And a little bit about her and her past. Sheila's like a soul exchange walk-in. And for those of you who don't know what a walk-in is, we're going to talk quite extensively about these things tonight. But she's a soul exchange walk-in. She entered the body of a 38-year-old mother with 3 children, immediately healed from documented illnesses. She took a new personality with spiritual gifts and memories, things that she didn't even believe in that part of the life before, which is an amazing concept. Her life was transformed, and she has never been the same. Sheila's an author, a speaker, multidimensional life coach, healer, regression therapist, teacher. She's also obtained a bachelor's degree from metaphysics, in metaphysics, and a master's degree in metaphysical sciences from the University of Metaphysical Sciences in California. Sheila covers great amounts of information about walk-ins, probably the most knowledgeable person I know when it comes to that subject. But as I said, she has so much more than just what we've shared now, so much more about who she is. I think the best way to introduce you to Sheila is to bring her in and to talk to her. So welcome, Sheila. Thank you so much for being a part of our show tonight. Welcome. Welcome.
Hi. Thanks so much for having me. And I will just let everyone who's listening know I have my little 7-pound Havanese Willow with me. He's my little sidekick. So if you hear some strange noises in the background, it's him.
Oh, Willow too. And we talked about this before the air. How did you come up with the name for Willow?
Oh, off of the movie Willow with Willow Offgood being the nail one. And Willow was small for a nail one, and Willow is small for a Havanese. He's only, like I said, about 7 pounds, and typically they get to be about 18 or 20 pounds. So he
That's
was rightly
amazing.
named.
That's
Pardon me?
amazing. Oh, I
Yeah,
said, yeah,
so,
that's amazing. And for those of you
yes.
guys who don't know, Willow, being a movie from the 80s, was about a being who came into their magicness. And I honestly forget a lot of the plot because the last time I saw it was probably in the early 90s. And a lot of things have happened from there to then. But it's a fitting name, fitting movie. I want to ask you, I ask everyone the same thing when they first get in. Um, I want to talk about your story because that's a big part of who you are with the walk-in and everything. But before we get into the story part of that, I want people to have an idea of how does someone like yourself who has a story open yourself to be a story. Now, I know this could also be extremely unique because of your experience and the way that the consciousness comes in late life. So there might not be much of before that, or there might not be anything before that, or I'm not really sure how it fully works. I know a lot of it has to do with slow integrations of consciousness and stuff, but do you have any memories from your childhood, from your young adulthood, that would make you believe that the experience you had as a walk-in was something that was set up long before the actual event of the walk-in, or is it something that just happened and your consciousness was there and involved with it at that moment?
Well, I'm going to be honest. I really think it was a little bit of both because I don't have of pre-walk-in. However, the ones that I do, I really cherish, like, my children being born and their birthdays. I still don't have full memory of my children's lives, and I don't have full memory of my life. And so much so that my mom was trying to encourage me to go to Western medicine to have testing run because she thought I had the beginning stages of Alzheimer's, and I finally had to sit her down and talk with her about it. But some of the things that I have learned that, even as a child, sometimes they would find me, I guess, they always thought that it was I was sleepwalking, but the doors would be locked and they would find me outside, and I would be knocking on the door to get back in, not having any knowledge of how I got outside. There's other times when I would exhibit just some extraordinary type behaviors. As when I was 5 years old, my mom was in the hospital and she was giving birth to my younger sister. And I had an accident where I was downstairs playing with my cousin. We were chasing each other, we're making tents. And he had told me, if you knock my tent down one more time, I'm going to knock you through the door. So as a small child, the thing I remember is going over, opening the door, and thinking, I'll go knock his tent down and then run out the door. And I knocked the tent down, but the door shut and I went through it. And I really cut my head deeply, my wrist. I almost cut the artery in two. And, I was just bleeding like crazy, just like you do with any scalp wound. It ended up taking like 58 stitches. But the amazing thing about that is my aunt was there, and I went up, and I couldn't really explain what happened. And she was ripping her shirt off and wrapping it around my head, trying to stop the bleeding. And they were from a nearby town, and they weren't familiar with the community. As a 5-year-old, I was laying there with my head wrapped, giving them directions to get to the hospital. Now, I don't know how I did that. I couldn't see the signs, but I would say, go to the next street, make a left, go 2 more streets, make a right. And then by the time my dad had gotten there from his work, I had already given everyone all of the information they needed, including my social security number. So I don't know how that happened. That was a very, that was an odd thing, but it led me to believe that it wasn't my time. That was just an accident that occurred. And so I had help from what I would now think is my spiritual team, probably helping out at that time. But I would also just, I would be preoccupied with different meditation styles. Or my mom said that at one time I was interested in herbology. Now, I don't remember a lot of this, but then I went through a very religious phase, she said. And I think what I was doing was probably, seeking something that was going to fill me. And, growing up, I don't guess I ever found that. And I was married at the time that the walk-in occurred. And I'm going to go ahead, if it's okay, I'll just share the story right now.
Yeah, please do. I think a lot of people are very interested to know what a walk-in is. And I also wanted to say thank you, Adam Twister, for the donation. We really appreciate that. But yeah, please let them know what is entailed in the aspect of a walk-in. That'd be great.
Okay.
In your story.
Absolutely. And I'm going to happy to do that. But I want to say that even though as a young person that I had sought out religion, it really, and I'd gone away from that, it really stuck to me. And so I had a lot of very fundamental belief systems. And someone had told me about the Shirley MacLaine book, Out on a Limb. I remember saying, that is the biggest bunch of hooey I have ever heard. Reincarnation? Are you kidding me? It sounds like, to me, people don't want to take personal responsibility for their actions. So that just gives you an idea of where my head was. My body was responding likewise to all of, the environment and everything that was happening, because I was a very sick person. I didn't have the healthiest of lifestyles. I was in a dysfunctional marriage. I had been, since my early 20s, diagnosed with a host of diseases, including the potential of brain tumors. They told me that I had the beginning phases of MS, and that I might as well prepare myself to be in a wheelchair by the time I was in my 40s. After that, I began to have chronic fatigue. I had fibromyalgia. I ended up started having a lot of migraines. And because the only way at that time that they could really diagnose what might be happening is they had offered to do a exploratory surgery in my brain, to which I said, thank you, but no. And then in my 30s, I developed bone cancer. And I was just walking down the stairs, put my hand on the rail, and bam, my clavicle shattered. So they sent me to an oncologist at Duke University, because I was living in Virginia at the time. And this oncologist, took a bunch of, they did a little biopsy. They did quite a few x-rays and imaging and those types of things. And then they decided the best course of action was to take out my clavicle bone. So I go to have this surgery, and I go in. I've got a very good attitude about everything. It's like, okay, well, if they have to take it, they have to take it, blah, blah, blah. I get out of the surgery, and I'm like, wow, it felt like to me it was very fast. And the doctor came in, and he goes, we can't understand. I'm like, what do you mean? So we went in to take the clavicle bone out. Her clavicle was no longer shattered. And we could find absolutely zero cancer traces, absolutely none. So that
Whoa.
was phenomenal in and of itself. And then I had continued to just go downhill after that. Even though I didn't have the cancer, I had so many autoimmune diseases. I had the beginning stages of RA. I couldn't hardly open my hands without Celebrex. And, I was just preparing myself for the worst. I was, for all intents and purposes, a single mom raising 3 kids, even though I was married. So I had a fourth. And I went to bed with a very negative attitude. I had started feeling bitter towards life, in a lot of pain. And what happened to me, it felt as if someone reached down, grabbed me by the hair of the head, pulled me bolt right up in bed. And it was like lightning ran through my body. And then I was in white space. Now, I don't know how long I was in this white space, but I know that I was very comfortable. I was out of pain. I felt so much love. And it was just the most beautiful place I had really ever been. There was all white space, but there was just this beauty about it. The next thing I know, my peripheral vision starts coming in, and then my frontal vision. And as I'm sitting there in the bed and I'm looking around, everything's the same, but everything's different. And when I get up and I'm walking on the carpet, it's like, ooh, gushy. It's almost like I'd never experienced carpet before. And as I would walk around the room, it was almost as if the articles of clothing were talking to me. Now, at this point, I didn't realize I was a walk-in. And when I went by the mirror, I just stopped and and I don't know how I was staring at myself. I was looking at my hair and my teeth, and I was just looking at every part of me, and I couldn't understand why I was doing that, because it was like I was looking out of someone else's eyes. Also, at that very instant, as I'm walking around, I started having past life memories. I started remembering healing modalities I'd never studied. And I started remembering some things about the universe that when I have talked with Ardif, he kind of confirmed for me. And so all of this information was running through my very fundamental mindset. And I thought I was having a psychotic break. My background at that time was in psychology, and it only made sense to me that, between the dysfunctional marriage and the health issues and just being run down with my job and everything and the kids, that, I was having a psychotic break. Made total sense to me. So what I learned over the course of the next 3 months is that everything in my life changed. Everything. I had very little memory of the previous person. My personality totally changed, including the type of music I listened to, the food I ate, the conversations that I had, my intellectual level. I don't know how many more points they gave me on the IQ scale, but it was significant, because all of a sudden I could start grasping concepts that I couldn't even pronounce the names of before. And so within 3 months, I had left that marriage. And within another 3 months, the miraculous thing is I found my first spiritual teacher. And I found her by accident. And I wasn't looking for a spiritual teacher. I was looking for a psychologist or a psychiatrist that could write me a prescription and give me a little blue pill, and my life could go, so I could stop hearing the voices in my head. I could stop seeing all of the people in my presence that really were not there. And I had no idea that being a walk-in, I came in with clairaudience and clairvoyance and, all of the clairs, as well as this gift of discernment. And it was really unnerving to me, because I literally thought, I can't tell anybody about this. They're going to take my children away. At this point now, I'm going through a divorce, because in those 3 months, like I said, I had left the marriage. And if the ex-husband found out what I was experiencing, no doubt I would have been locked up. So I was very cautious about that. And in sharing all of these things with this counselor, she introduced the concept of walk-ins. And I had never heard that before. And when she said that a soul, or she just called it a walk-in, she said a walk-in is when one soul leaves and another soul takes its place. Well, I almost got up and walked out of the office because my brain still couldn't comprehend, even though I knew something inside me was starting to bubble up. And there was this acknowledgement that, yeah, that's true for you. But my brain I just couldn't wrap myself around it. And so the more time that I spent with this counselor, I learned that she was of Hopi lineage. She was teaching women's circles, and she began to teach me shamanism. And it was during shamanism that I really began to anchor myself in. And I think that a lot of people are having spiritual awakenings through their spiritual processes. Sometimes people have spiritual awakenings and they think that they're a walk-in because everything is so different. But when someone has a spiritual awakening that's been on a spiritual path, it's because they've really done their work. You know, a walk-in comes in and changes everything immediately. I was not on a spiritual path. I was on a self-destructive path. I was on this path. I was on limited thought belief path, bad behavior path, all of those types of things. But I think that a lot of times when people have a spiritual awakening, what's happening is they're actually activating more of their higher self energy. Well, when you walk in, for me, I had a soul exchange, one soul out and another soul aspect in. And other people will have what's called, they'll have a braided soul, where you'll actually have two souls that are taking up resonance. You'll have a new soul and then the natal soul. And it's almost like for a short period of time, these two souls will begin to battle with each other until one soul actually will then, they kind of merge together. Then there's what's called a soul infusion. And a soul infusion is when the majority of your soul leaves and new aspects of yourself, much higher aspects, come in. Like it's very unusual, but in the case of my son, who actually became a walk-in during a ruptured appendicitis. They didn't know it. He ended up having peritonitis. It was a really long and sad story, but he became a walk-in through that experience. And even working with Ardif said that he only retained 13% of his original soul, and that he had gone up high into his oversoul and had pulled down more of his angelic self and had anchored that in. Now he was only 7 years old at the time, but that's what you call as a soul infusion. Then you have what's called a soul overlay. And a soul overlay is when you have the natal soul that stays intact. You have a new aspect that comes in and kind of snuggles up around it like a neoprene suit. And sometimes even our souls get weary. So if you have an overlay, it can act like a battery charger, and it can help to enliven that soul, or it can actually hold space, and the natal soul can leave, go and have healing, repair work, whatever has to be done, and then come back to the body, and the overlay will either leave or it will meld, and they will become one. And then you have what's called a jumper. And a jumper is when someone has an agreement that other souls can basically jump in and out of their body for specific experiences or to share specific knowledge. And so these experiences are very short term, but they're very impactful because they leave a very strong imprint on the person, and then they're gone. And it will happen over, a course of hours or days or weeks, and maybe a month and maybe 2 months, but usually not longer than that. Then you have what's also called the multidimensional soul. And the multidimensional soul is when you have multiple aspects of your soul that incarnate at birth, and throughout life, then they begin to activate. And so you may have more of your Palladian soul memories come forward, or you may have more of the Arcturian energy, and they just kind of come back and forth. So if you need a little extra strength, you may have one aspect that's really good at certain things. And then they just kind of, like I said, do this little rotating dance. And so when I began to interview other walk ins, because I knew I was not alone, then I began to find that there were different types of walk. And to be honest, I was really surprised, because I assumed a walk in was just like mine: one soul out, another soul in. It happens. Everyone feels it. They experience it. And I found out that that's not true. A lot of times walk-ins will occur when someone has an accident, or, they're having a surgery, or they've had extreme trauma. And in my case, I was thinking, oh, maybe I've got like personality dissociative order because of everything that was going on in my life. But that was not the case. And for people who think that they might be a walk-in, I do have a questionnaire on my SheilaSeppi.com website that you can go to and go through and answer those questions for yourself, and find out, if the majority of the answers are yes, then, you very well could be a walk-in. But, one of the things that I have found is, when I came in, I also came in with like very, very strong mission. And I would just have these times, it's like, oh, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. And it was almost like my body was just pulled or compelled or pushed to do certain things. When I came in, as I said, I left in 3 months. I moved to a different state in 3 months, and I accepted a new job. And I was in that job for 5 years. And one of the things, I was a project manager in corporate America, working in literally pork projects through a congressional office. But what I found is, one of the gifts that had also come in with me, I had the ability to see the end of a project. I could tell you 100% where it would go. And like, even when we built our house and moved into it, it's like, okay, I know where every piece of furniture goes. I would see it in the room before we even, get in there. And sure enough, every piece of furniture would go there and it would stay there. But I was finding these synchronicities in my life that were leading me down these new pathways. And then when I met my husband and remarried, we moved to Colorado, and I was only like 4 years old as far as the walk-in goes. And when we moved to Colorado, they told me that I was not going to go back to a corporate job, that I was going to start a healing business. And at the time, I knew Reiki, and I was a Reiki master. I thought that that's, exactly what they wanted me to do, but they kept pushing and prodding and, telling me to go bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's kind of what brought me to a lot of the projects that I'm doing today. It's because I listened to what I now know them to be as my collective. And so before I incarnated, I was in what you would call a collective of beings. And we had merged our multidimensional selves together, and we had formed a larger being. We were in the Andromedan system. We were on a scouting mission, and there were actually, it had to do with AI technology. But anyway, we heard this I don't know if it was a cry or resonance, but Gaia cried out, and we left the Andromedan system and we came to Earth. And we got here, we merged yet again with more consciousness, and we formed all the way around the planet, and we were working on the crystalline grid in order to send frequencies and light codes to help people to wake up consciously. And the soul of this body cried out to be released. It was decided that I would be the aspect from the collective that would come in. And so I've been here ever since. And after I had met my husband and moved to Colorado, it was almost like, it was like kind of like I had a moratorium on being able to read or research. And even to this day, I will tell you, I have never read another book about a walk-in. I have skimmed through Ruth Montgomery's, and I've read one or two passages, and I've quoted a little of this or a little of that, but I've never read another walk-in book. And so the knowledge that they gave me, they really wanted to keep it as my knowledge and not to get it tangled up and confused with other things that I knew. And so working with my guides and learning to shamanically travel in a lot of ways, I feel is what saved my life, because it allowed me to work with my guides to receive the information that I needed and to have them to break down for me in very easy, digestible steps the fact that, number one, no, I was not a body snatcher, that walk-ins happen two ways. Like mine, there was this instantaneous of coming in, but this decision of even this collective coming to the planet had taken place eons ago, and everything had to be put in place. So when I came in, I didn't need to go through the birth process or the childhood process or adolescence or the young adult. I needed an adult form. Now, sometimes people need the experience of birth. They need the experience of the toddlerhood. And sometimes souls only want to experience that explosion of life. And so after that occurs and all the mitosis, and then once the infant begins to form, sometimes they will choose to come to a body where the mother is going to abort the fetus, or where the mother may miscarry. And that's a conscious choice that's made on the other side. And my guides would tell me all of this stuff. I'm like, whoa, this is so cool, because I never really understood. But my guides really have helped me every step of the way. They provide me information. They work with me. They wake me up at 5 o'clock in the morning and say, hey, we got a project you're going to do. I'm like, great. Thank you. It's like, can I say no? I can say, yeah, you can say no, but you can do it the easy way or the hard way, but you're going to do it. So I've learned when they wake me, like, okay, all over it. What do you need?
That's amazing. And some of these parts of the stories I had forgotten about from reading the book. Others I hadn't heard yet, and others I remembered pretty well. Now, there was someone who said that the sound from your side might be breaking up a little bit. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. If you have any programs that are running internet in the background, you might want to shut them down. And I don't know if it's this whole show or if it's just your side. So they should know in a minute if they hear me skipping out too. It's the connection from our side.
Okay.
But, two things that you said that really bring my attention. The first one deals with the mental illness aspect. When you think of schizophrenia, borderline personality disorder, bipolar disease, these are all considered mental illnesses. They're all considered, scientifically, chemical imbalances, lots of different things that go with it. And I had an interest in this because my family lineage, when I first had my experience, my first indicator was, oh my God, I got the family mental illness. And I studied up about that, and I even went to see a ER doctor and told him what was going on. And after I finally met Trev and like got to know him and talk to him, something that he shared about that is the same thing that you were saying, Ardif had shared with you. A lot of consciousnesses come in different ways, with soul mixtures and different points of exchanging consciousness. And it's interesting with your son too. 13% is a specific number, and that's the amount of consciousness from before that stayed with, and the rest was shifted through the higher self and the oversoul consciousness, which is amazing. So these people who are going through this experience, it's a nice tool that you have on your website. What are like the biggest indicators right up front, like, hey, I could be a walk-in, when people are experiencing these vast, huge shifts of consciousness?
Well, I believe that one indicator in and of itself is not significant enough to kind of hang your hat on. But if you have multiple indicators, like if you had a total personality change, if you have um, all of a sudden you want to change jobs, you leave your relationship, you don't have memories. Now you had them before, but all of a sudden now you don't have memories. Like I don't have memory of the person that I was before, because when I asked my collective about it, they said, you know what, those aren't your memories. It really has nothing to do with you. And so that's okay. I'll take that. I'll take that. But if people all of a sudden just get up one day, everything is different. They go to their closet and all of a sudden, they change their wardrobe, they change the way that they eat, their actions are the same. If all of a sudden they have knowing and they have never studied material before. So there's a lot of indicators that something has shifted. What I find now, Rob, more than anything, yes, we still have walk-ins coming in. And, I was told that during this year we would have about 16,000 new walk-ins to come onto the planet, because there is a walk-in program within the Andromedan system, within the Arcturians, within all of the different planetary systems that are supporting Earth. It's kind of like they're bringing boots sound, because we can hold different vibrational frequencies and help anchor those into the planet. And so when you look at the mass awakenings that are occurring of people now, I truly believe that so many people have done their work, so many people have increased their frequency, that they're bringing in more and more of their own higher souls, their own higher self. And so a lot of people will call me, and at the end of the conversation, they're like, I think you're right. I think I've had an integration with my higher self. And that's super cool, because you don't experience the soul loss. Like my son, who brought more of his soul self in, he still retained 13%, but the rest of that went away. And people that are having these awakenings now are retaining more of their own soul essence. They're not having to be walk-ins. And so I think that we're really looking at new, maybe lack of better terms, like a new classification of humans that's on this planet. We now are a society that's able to hold these higher frequencies, that's able to shift our thought processes in just a blink of an eye, and to integrate more of that energy without being a walk-in.
That makes total sense. It's something Trev and Ardif have shared pretty much since day one. Trev had said it, and Ardif reconfirmed. 2012 was always something a lot of our community looked at, and they said it's not the same thing that you think. Yeah, it's a huge precipice of energy, but it's a cycle, and there's 9 years in front, 9 years after, and it's just a bigger shifting cycle for the higher dimensional energies to come in, where once you're third density or fourth dimensional, you'll go to a fourth density, fifth dimensional energy, and you're there the whole time. It's a process of changing, but the end of that 9 year cycle fell in 2021, right as the world was going to go a little crazy. So it makes sense that through the events that have happened on our earth, people have been forced to face themselves. They've been forced to face the higher levels of consciousness inside of them because they've been forced to do the work. Um, have your guides shared anything about how they perceive these shifts on the earth in the last couple of years, of why things felt so crazy for so many people?
Well, one of the things when the pandemic hit, for some reason inside of me, I became so joyful. And I'm like, okay, I am a twisted sister. This is a serious illness. People are dying and you're getting excited. And I really felt bad, but I had this excitement just playing up and I couldn't help it. And my guides said, it has begun. And I kept saying, what's begun? Are we getting ready to ascend? What's happening? What's happening? And they said that the pandemic was an opportunity to allow humanity as a whole to stop, to go deep within, to really do that deep shadow work or that expansion. Sometimes people are so busy, they didn't even have the opportunity. As a healer, I had people coming in my office and they were totally freaked out. They're like, my kids are at home all the time. I've never been around my kids this much. I don't know how to connect with them. And so, as sad as that was, it was beautiful because these families had this opportunity that they could react with one another. Now, I was one of the very few offices that was allowed to, we were only closed down for about 6 weeks. And then we were open the whole time. And with the work that I do, we were actually assisting people as they started to become ill to help them move through things much more gently and quickly. And so the first thing that I saw, I think with the insanity that's going on the planet, I think it's always been there. I think what's happened is more and more people are waking up. They're seeing what's happening, and all of a sudden it's like, not on my watch. This is not acceptable anymore. And
Mm.
so people's eyes beginning to open. Why? Because their spirit is awakening, their soul energy is awakening. They are becoming that which they already were. They just didn't know who they were. And they're starting to wake up to become more conscious. And conscious human beings, they don't endorse war. They don't endorse hate. They don't endorse all of the sick things that we've seen going on in our society that's come to light. But the more and more light you shine on something in the dark, the more you're going to be able to see. And so I think that's exactly what's been happening, is that we are now, as a human race, seeing all of the distortions that have, really gone all along.
Thousands of years, yeah, in some cases.
Absolutely.
I love that analogy, shining the light from the dark. This is something too, Trev and I have talked a lot about in the last couple of years, is that the systems that we've had operating our Earth collective for dozens of years, hundreds of years, or thousands of years, and we've all kept doing them because we didn't feel like shifting a whole world around. We didn't feel like shifting our city around, our states around, our countries around, because we too busy trying to just survive or make the check or get the promotion or whatever people are focused on. But this really shook people up and made people say, whoa, 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 this whole experience, look at this. I see the holes in this boat. And what was beautiful to me, a lot of people still are doing that politically sided, or I'm on this side, you're on this side type thing, which is normal. It's a human response. But I've noticed that even by doing that, they're still able to see different
Mhm.
holes in the same systems. So
Yes.
between the two groups, everybody's getting a full 360 picture of everything that's going on.
Well, my parents have literally, they still have their television, but they no longer are watching the news, which is huge because they were sitting in front of that TV, and my dad, be arguing with the television, but they would be watching all of this, and they have all of a sudden understood, you know what, I feel better. When I'm not watching the news, I feel better. And I'm like, I wonder why that is. It's like, well, it used to make me anxious, or it used to be fearful, or it used to make me whatever. My parents, at the age of, they're both in their late 80s, they're making these changes. Now, they would not have, 20 years ago, I couldn't talk to my parents about being a walk in or anything like that. But as I opened up and began to talk to them, my dad began to share a little bit about our family lineage and the fact that my grandmother used to see ships all the time. She would see them land, and then I don't know if she would have missing time or what, but the next thing she would know, she would find herself in the kitchen washing dishes. My dad
Whoa.
has seen craft throughout his whole life. And, my mom said that we used to go out and lay on a blanket on warm summer nights and just look stars for craft. And so, the fact that they were that open then when I was a child, it did surprise me that they're not watching the news, but it's like, okay, in their own way, they were kind of closet conscious. That's what I call it, when, it's almost like when they know there's something, but they choose to operate within this comfort zone, something that is socially acceptable by family and friends. And, it's really safe and it's secure in that little box. But as soon as something happens, they know how to respond. And so I was really, I was very, very proud of them, the way that they chose to, live their life through that whole time. And so, things that are happening on the earth right now, I believe, are the beginning phases of us shifting from one just state to another, and possibly even from one density to another.
Yeah, yeah, that's something Ardif and Trevor have shared a long time, that as humans, we're already fourth density beings. We just had to get our consciousness to the level to experience it. And that could take 5 years, it could take 1,000 years. It just depends on us. But I see more and more people having fourth density types of experiences too. Um, this is a fascinating topic and subject, and I could talk all day, but I want to shift gears for a minute because we're getting to almost the 30-minute mark left, and I want to cover the network and the
Hmm.
project that you have going on, because this is going to be something huge for our community. Our community has a lot of divisions of things that they can perceive, and a lot of different types of material. And really, the only thing that's out there right now where people can kind of get a little taste of everything is when they go to Gaia TV, but it's not
Right.
necessarily set up well for some people. Some people don't like the subscription. Some people don't like the material. There's a lot of things going on. So, can you share with us what project you've been working on, and tell us a little bit about how you're going to help shift the ability for people to get great material?
Absolutely. Well, when I came in, I came in with the mission of being a way shower. And I have done my very best throughout my 23 years of being here to do that very thing. And
Can I
every
say
time
something, Sheila? And
uh-huh.
this is from me getting to know you for the last couple of years. By far, more than more than anyone I know, you are a person who never stops working towards helping others become aware of helping get information out for the greater collective. You're some person who embraces community in the way that me and Kalina tried to come into our community around 2014 and 13 with a channel panel. We tried to create something where everyone can perceive a group of information and energy. You're the person I know who works the hardest at what you do. You never stop working. You work a job with your healing. You come home and you're instantly working on other things. You're nonstop. You're amazing. So I wanted to put that out there for people to have a reference of how dedicated and how much energy you put in. I'm sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. Well, thanks so much for that. But one of the things in being a way shower that I'm always looking at new ways to get the message out. And when I say get the message out, I'm talking about how to present information in a different way, in a variety of ways, that everyone can take a little piece of it and apply it to their life. And one of the things that happened after I wrote the book, Walk-Ins Cosmology to the Soul, is we put together a conference, and that was held on Portal to Ascension. And after that conference, I was inundated with letters and calls and texts and people saying, oh my God, this is the first time I have really felt at home. I feel welcome here. I feel like this is my people. I don't know if I'm a walk-in or not, but you guys are my people. And I kept trying to individually work with all of these people. So I decided to form an organization whereby we could have weekly meetings. And those weekly meetings grew into 2 meetings a week on Mondays and Thursdays. And now we have presenters every Monday and every Thursday that are coming. Like tomorrow night, we have Barbara Lamb, and she'll be talking about crop circles. And last Monday night, we had a group from a course that Rebecca Hardcastle with Exoconsciousness is teaching. And these individuals came and shared their art and how they're inspired by spirit and how they translate that and how the beings come to them and how they show up in their paintings. And so I try to bring in as wide a range of people as possible. The Galactic Alliance, anyone is welcome to join. Anyone is welcome to come to these Monday or Thursday night meetings. Everything is open. There's absolutely no charge. And you can also catch the rerun or the rewinds or, the replays of them on our website. And you can go to the website at thegalacticalliance.org. Now, that's formally the walk-in, the result of the walk-in conference, and we formed what was called the Wish Alliance for walk-ins, indigos, starseeds, and hybrids. And our programming is so phenomenal, and we have good turnouts, but Spirit just kept nudging me saying, you've got to find another mechanism. You've got to get this word out. So I got really passionate about finding the way to get this out. Do I do something on Instagram, social media? Do I do something written? Do I, what do I need to do? Put articles in magazines? What is it I need to do? And literally, this project just fell in my lap. Now, when I say this project, it is a project whereby I was going to have the opportunity to develop a telephone app for both Android and iOS. I was going to have a website in which I would play all the videos. And then all of this was going to be put on Roku, Amazon, and Apple TV. And I got so excited, and I was talking to this guy. And then it was almost like my heart sank. It's like, oh, I don't have anybody to play with. Because I really am unity conscious minded. And, if I'm doing something, I want everybody to be doing it. Let's all together, because not only is it much more fun, but my voice will resonate differently than your voice, Rob, and it'll resonate differently than Kalina's. And, so a lot of it
Yeah.
has to do with voice resonance and the message that we carry. So I began to look among the community that I am closely associated with and began to handpick those individuals that I thought everyone had a different enough message, yet it was all the same message, but they presented everything in a different enough way that no matter who was watching this programming, they would find something of interest. And if they found something of interest, they would change. But the whole goal I got really excited about was that we would be able to provide conscious programming to a mainstream audience in activating them in a spiritual awakening. Because my parents would say it all the time, we've got all these TV channels and there's nothing to watch. And we've got, personally, we've got like the Rokus and the Apple, we got all that stuff. And they're literally, other than like Gaia television, there is nothing out there. So I became bound and determined that when we put this programming channel up, that there would be absolutely nudge for our app to download our app or to go to an app store and download it, and that all the content on there would be free of people. Why don't you do 99 cents or $1 because that could help maintain? It's like, that's not what this is about. It's about all of us uniting to get our message out, because together with like-minded thought, can you imagine the synergy that we're going to create together? Can you imagine that ripple effect that we're going to have on the consciousness just by all of us having like and like mission? I am so excited about that. And I've handpicked like 30 people that I really want to play with in this adventure. And of course, you were right there at the top of the list.
Thank you.
The work that you do, the channeling that comes through, I've never got to play with Treb. I've always, worked with Ardif. Maybe one day I'll get to Treb, but
Absolutely.
I just love the information that you're able to bring through, and I love the clarity of the messages. And I know if I love this information this much, other people are going to love it. So we do have people like, Barbara Lamb, who are going to be participating, Alan Steinfeld, Neil Garr with Portal to Ascension, Joan of Angels, Marilyn. I'm sure you know Marilyn, Rebecca Hardcastle Wright, Jacqueline Smith, Kiara Windrider, a whole host of individuals that have a beautiful and diverse message. We have everything from how you meet your spiritual guide and how do you smudge, to preparing for contact, learning to channel, learning to wear spiritual gifts. We have such an array, how do you make contact? What type of beings are out there? What do we need to do to prepare ourselves? How do we need to eat healthy? How do we exercise? So we even have Tao masters that are going to be on there teaching, healthy eating, healthy. I've got one lady who actually was a student of mine, and I am so proud of her. She's gone on and she now is a master herbologist, and she's going to teach herbology on there. So this is kind of like perpetual one after one video of people being able to tune in and find exactly what they're looking for. So I'm super excited about this. We're calling it the Conscious Awakening Network. And hopefully, we'll be launching the middle of October. So for everybody that's out there, when this time comes, we want you to download that app. Share it with all of your friends. It is free of charge. So you can have everything going 24/7. You'll be able to have it on your telephone with you no matter where you are. You can tune in. We're able to do live streams through Roku. There's even opportunities for pay-per-view for like if people want to go to, say, like a, they're not able to do it. Well, there's a way that you can do a pay-per-view through Roku, and people in the comfort of their home can participate in all these various conferences that we're going to be hosting and having. So, this is just another opportunity that my collective is bringing through to help humanity to not just wake up, but to support people who have woken up, and to support people that are looking like, I just feel like there's something more I could be doing. And maybe what they do is they watch something that helps them to spiritually develop. And they, in turn, then have their own spiritual business where they can provide services to people. So I have such high hopes for this network because, it's not like that the network is being created out of, like, ooh, look at us. We're getting a network is coming together so that we can unite and provide more conscious content out there in a much larger way. Can you imagine Joe Blow sitting there in his recliner scanning through, what's this? Conscious Awakening Network. He scans through. He finds a program, maybe the channel panel, who knows? But whatever it is, it activates this person, and they have a spiritual by watching this programming. That is why I want this channel so badly.
And that's the most powerful thing to me. I'm never against people charging for what they do, because I charge for what I do. I have a family
Mhm.
to support, and it's either that or work another type of job and never be able to share my gift with the public. So I figure, yeah, let's do it this way. So that's good. But to have a place with an entire library of free material, spiritually oriented, that's only desire in being there is to help assist other people through their journey, that's right up my alley. I always tell this story, and it's really actually a bit emotional when I think about it. But the way that I started was a guy sitting on my chair, the squeakiest chair in the universe, as the cleanest, though, naturally pointed, in my living room, or in my kitchen, channeling Treb just to do it. And I said, you know what? I'm going to share this because Treb changed my life. And if he can do 0.1% of change on one person, even if I do this, make 100 videos and only one person sees it and they feel that change, it would be worth it to me. That's how excited I was about my own change in my
Yeah.
life. So I shared it, and it just went so much more impactful on the collective that watched it and connected to it than ever before. So once I saw the power of being able to share what resonates with you and what helps you and what helped develop you with other people, it's like a spiritual wildfire that goes through the hearts of the
Mhm.
collective, and I love it. It's really, really huge. And the thing too, like, the reason I said, not judging anyone for, because Gaia TV, it's a company, they have to make money, they pay for production, I get it.
Right.
But this, to a lot of people who I've shared this information about, so they're like, so like Gaia TV but free, yes, like that. Right.
Right, right. And one of the beautiful things is, we really want high quality programming. And I have told people what I'm doing is I'm focusing on high quality content, because let's say someone, maybe maybe their videos are a little fuzzy when they're blown up on these large TVs or whatever. The message that people are bringing through. Yes, I want this to be very professional. I want this to be top notch, the best that we can have. But you know what? If somebody has something, a particular video that's not the greatest in the world, but their message is undeniable, I think that person's voice should be heard. And this is a channel for people to have their voices heard. I've never been one that's like, oh, well, we can only work with people. No, that's not what this is about. And that's why with the Galactic Alliance, we have the ambassador program where you sign up. And if they've got a powerful message, hey, they can be interviewed on one of the Monday or Thursday night shows. And these are the shows that are actually going to end up then on the Conscious Awakening Network. And so I'm so excited about the possibilities. And Rob, I'm so excited that you're going to be a big part of this, because I know that lives will be changed. I just know it. My guides and my collective and my support team, my everything who leads me, they've never led me astray. They've never opened a door only to have it shut in my face. And with this project, it's been seamless. If I have a need, a person shows up. I have this guy who now is going to be running the back end of this network, who wrote a letter to me, described the skill set that he had, and guess what? It wasn't even supposed to go to me. It was supposed to go to another Sheila. And it came to me. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so wonderful. I said, I hadn't put this out, but these are the needs I have. And I got a letter back. It's like, you know what? I'm so sorry. This letter was to go to someone else. And immediately my heart sank. I'm like, oh no, and then as I read on, it's like, however, this sounds like an exciting project. Let's meet. And now that I've met with, actually have 3 people that he has assigned specifically to help us get the word out on social media and to upgrade the video content I'm sending and doing all the editing and the postings and making sure that the videos get uploaded the way that they need to be uploaded, etc. So, when you are doing the work of spirit, doors just seem to open, or they do for me. And all I have to do is walk in. I say that since I've arrived here, I've had a very blessed life. Everything may not always have been the way that I, in an ideal world, might have chosen a situation to be, but it's always been perfect for me. And I've learned that no matter what happens, that I have this ability to be able to go back to center and remember that I am a soul having a human experience. I'm not a human with a soul, and the difference. And when I realize that I'm here on behalf, do you know how many souls are out there just wanting an opportunity to experience what we're experiencing right now, to be on the cusp of this huge conscious awakening, to be on the cusp of moving from one density to another, from one consciousness level to another? I mean, I find it totally amazing. And I just feel, I feel blessed every day. And I'm so happy that I was allowed to come to Earth and to be of service and to, help get this message out. I'm having a blast, and I'm meeting the most wonderful people along the way. And so I always tell people, it is impossible. Truly, it is impossible to be separate. No matter how lonely we feel or how much we think no one understands us, there are always people out there. And the Galactic Alliance is one of those organizations. I can guarantee somebody that's one of the ambassadors that can help you, because we also have a huge list of services that people can choose from and contact these service providers and get the help that they need. And now they're going to have yet one more opportunity, and that will be with the Conscious Awakening Network. So, I'm so excited to talk about that, and, to be given the opportunity to share. And I have mentioned it within my community, but you guys are the first ones to really hear about it.
That's my group of people who support our work are always the most amazing group of people. They're always supportive, and I think most everyone understands my drive behind sharing the things that I do, like doing this show every week and releasing all the videos that we do and channeling. It's for people, and that's why I've kept every video up since I got my channeling to the place that I liked it and that I felt was resonant. About 2 or 3 years after I started channeling, every video from that point forward is still up on the channel and will stay up forever, because it's important for people to have access to information.
Yes.
And it goes hand in hand. I offer services, but I also keep as much free as humanly possible for that purpose alone. And this network becomes that as an extension on a magnitude of 1,000,000, because you have all the different people sharing with it. I really love it too. It's something that as soon as you told me about, I was like, yes, 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 that's perfect. I want to do that. And me and Kalina's life has been a little crazy lately, as an understatement, a little crazy. But even through that, it's something that I want more than just about anything that I'm doing right now. I've got a couple things that I'm working on with Kalina, a couple things I'm working on with a couple friends, and this is right there at the top, because I really believe that this can help affect a change that's really huge in that collective. Just by having my own energy there, even if one person watches one video of ours and says, wow, that's really great, that's fine. If my energy is there, my intention is there, and if my intention is there, my consciousness is there, and if my consciousness is there, it's being added to the group. And the old biblical thing, 2 or more together praying, the same goes in the conscious. That's really the translation from everything I understood. The more consciousness that's involved with a desire to manifest, the more that manifestation has to provide as a manifestation with others. So I really, really love it. We're getting on the lower end of time. Before we get to the place where I let everybody, where I let you kind of just share everything that the links and the places to find you and how to connect with you. People are interested in looking through all the different things that you've got going on, and your practices and your videos and the galactic group that you've got running twice a week. Before we get to that, I want to play a little game I play with everybody who comes. I can't remember who the first guest was who I did. Maybe Daryl, maybe someone else, but I basically want to ask you a few questions, maybe that no one else has ever asked you on an interview. If you want to skip one, just say skip, and we'll skip. I've had quite a few of them.
Okay.
Skip. Yeah, they're not too bad, but
Okay.
let's go with the first one. What is your favorite color?
My favorite colors are the aquas, the blues, the purples.
Very beautiful. Yeah. It's a lot of people go for blue. A lot of people go for blue. It's one of our big ones here. What is your favorite food?
Oh man, my favorite food is
Oh, what was that? I'm sorry, you cut out just for a sec.
popcorn.
My mom absolutely loved popcorn. When we were kids, we would eat that 5 times a week sometimes, because she loved it
Oh,
so
I
much.
love it. Love it.
That is a good one. What's your favorite band and or type of music?
You know, as far as music goes, I typically tend to listen to the softer type musics, more of the meditative type musics. So to go from that to Halung, who is a Scandinavian kind of rock. So, but there's something about that beat. I can feel that resonance and it just vibrates through my body and I can feel it activating my chakras. And honestly, I don't know what the words are. And I always ask that, if it's in another language that I don't know, that I would not be, if there's anything negative that I'm affected by it, but just allow that frequency to work with my body. And some of the music that I like, my son will say, "Mom, do you know what that's about?" And I'm like, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I just love that beat.
That's amazing. It's funny. Our baby Lilith, she likes kind of like house techno music. That seems to be the one that catches her. So every time we play like a Prodigy song from the 90s or something like that, instantly she'll lock in a lot of R&B with that same kind of techno beats to it. She really, something about that she really loves. So it's I think you're right, that energy of working with the body on the beats and the types of music, the vocals, whatever it is that catches your attention usually is what needs to work. That's beautiful. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Sure. I'll just give you one more.
Yeah.
Raising Appalachia. I love Raising Appalachia. It's two sisters that sing together. It's harmony, but they also have, they have different drums and different cymbals, and they have different instruments from all over the world that they have other people in the bands playing. They're very eclectic, and I just love them. They're really good. They're very good. Very good.
Yeah, I've never heard of them. We'll have to look them up. I'm a
Check
big
them
music
out.
person. I love all types of music. There's a few genres that I won't dig into, but what's the other? Okay, what's your favorite place to go in the world to visit just for the sheer beauty and being out in the nature?
Any place that has woods, I'm happy because I love traveling and seeing different landscapes, but I am just as happy to go up behind my house. We're very blessed. We live 10,200 feet up. We have spectacular views. We have lodgepole pines and aspen that are primarily here. And my heart is very earth based. And so, any place I can find a nice rock to sit on and a tree root, I am in heaven.
That's so amazing. Me and Kalina will be coming up to see it eventually once
Well,
things settle
yes,
down here a little
please.
bit. Yeah, we definitely want to come make a
Oh,
trip to Colorado. It's beautiful there from everything we've seen.
mm-hmm.
Kalina drove through it once, but I've only flown over it before. So yeah, it's beautiful.
Well, those very high peaks that you flew over, that's where I live.
Yes, 10,000 feet is huge.
Yes.
When we're going up the Appalachian Mountains, we get to like the tops of the mountains, and they're usually less than that above sea level. So, yeah,
Right.
that's beautiful. What was the last? See, now this one might not apply to you so much because you have the walk-in experience, and I know that you've had limited access to the memories of your younger childhood, but in your childhood, is there a memory that you have that you absolutely adore and hold on to?
There is. I was gifted, several memories. Only one of its kind. I remember walking across the fields in front of my grandmother's house, and I would go in to the open country, and there was no one around, and there were these high rocks, and it was wooded, but it was almost like a fairy ring, where there's the opening right in the middle of a forest. And I believe I was speaking light language, and I believed I could talk to the trees, and I believed that I could talk to the rocks, and I believed thought that came to me, and I couldn't have been 10, 11 years old, but I was just obsessed with the thought that we were all, because remember now, I grew up religious. So I thought that each one of us, each one of our souls was part of a cell within God. And I used to just ponder that thought and let it go around and around in my head. And I would, my friends and everybody would, because they're like, oh, you're always jibber jabbering. That's what they called it. And I think I must have been speaking light language. I think that, I know that the soul that I incarnated with was rooted in the Arcturian energy, that initial soul, and it set up the framework which allowed me to come in. So I have no doubt that I probably was communicating with my star family.
That's beautiful. And yeah, I almost assumed, after hearing your story the first time, I almost assumed that there had to have been some form of deep soul connection from the counterpart of the soul that was and the soul that is now in that body. Because usually, even lovers and children and parents, usually they make some agreements well before coming in. So to do something like that big with such high implications, almost, I feel like it almost had to have been some form, even if not an agreement, some form of deep connection of soul consciousnesses. So it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, for me, when I first started talking with my collective, because I was really concerned that, I was a body snatcher, something like that. And they explained the process to me. And I really, I felt good to know that the soul was ready to leave. But there were these children and there was this family and there was this work to be done, and that I could step in and carry on and get everything completed, as well as bring this mission that I'm doing in with me. And they had provided this life and set everything up that all I had to do was walk into. Now, there was a lot of disruption, but, there was a lot of beauty in that as well. And so I was able, because of that Arcturian soul, to step into a very sick body without frying all the neurology. And so I was always, really grateful for that. So, I have been so busy. One day I'm going, not one day, I'm going to take like a week and do nothing but just work with my guides when I get that luxury, just to, like, tell me more, because I do want to know more.
Yeah, it's such a fascinating thing. I work heavily from the mental space. It's both a gift and a curse at sometimes, just depending on what time it is. Okay, good. I thought my TV was going to pop on, which would have been horrific. I would have had to shut it down, but it was just rebooting. So anyway, sorry for the distraction. I've got a little of that ADD thing going on sometimes. The energy behind that being as fascinating as it is, that's why I love talking to Art, because he likes to get in there and dissect everything and take the pieces and show them through the microscope. I hate to do it, but we're almost out of time. So I want to say, before having you share all the links of where people can contact you for the various types of work that you're doing, and to learn more, how to stay in touch about the network and all the other announcements that are going to be made. I want to say to you, thank you for thinking of me on this project. Thank you for thinking of me on the book, and getting to know me and spending time with, as crazy as my life has been. I know I've intervened with timelines that you guys set up too before, and I've had a lot of crazy times being able to connect with you when you have things going on. You've been so gracious, so loving, but you do that for the collective, because the collective is a macrocosm of me that can be a little crazy sometimes, and a little messy and a little weird, but have great good hearts and wanting to connect. And you make it so beautiful and so easy, and the way you're so oriented in community, it's just really huge for the collective. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being you. Thank you for working hard to help others, and thank you for coming tonight. I appreciate it more than ever.
Oh, thank you. I am just, I'm honored to be here.
Well,
I
thank you so
really
much.
am.
Thank you. And if you let people know how to keep in touch with you, how to keep up the contact about the network, I'll be announcing it too, obviously. But if there's a central place where they can come to get updates about that or anything else that you want to share, the floor is your events coming up, whatever.
Yeah, the easiest way to stay in touch is just go to SheilaSeppi.com. SheilaSeppi.com. And I will keep all of the updates and everything right there. I'll have the links where you can check out Alliance. You can also go to either wishalliance.org or the Galactic Alliance about joining and becoming part of the Alliance. And you can also go on Facebook and type in the Conscious Awakening Network. And I'm starting to develop a page there. And right now it's very rudimentary, but we will be having lots of information. We'll have who our speakers are for the week and the whole plethora. But yeah, so there's going to be tons of ways to get a hold of us. Please, please, please remember us. Download us to your telephones and check us out on Roku, Apple, or Amazon.
All right, beautiful. And if any of you missed the links, they will be in the description. So go ahead and open up the description for the YouTube video, for the Facebook group, for the Enlightenment Evolution Hour. The links will be there. I don't think they post in Twitch. So if you're on Twitch, come on over to YouTube. Look up tonight's episode by name and you can get the links there. Thanks again, Sheila, for everything. I appreciate all my love to you and your family. Thank you for, like I said, all the things you do and your personal relationship with me. You've been an amazing friend, and I appreciate it more than you could ever know.
Oh, well, thank you. Much love to you and your family.
Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you all, too, for showing up tonight, for joining the chat, for watching the links. We will have more announcements about the networks on our weekly show as developments come. So if you're going to be interested in the Conscious Awakening Network, you can always tune in here too, and we'll give you verbal updates, not only on our parts, but on the network in general, as well as all of our social media. You can check those out. Go see Sheila's web links and sites. If you're interested in joining her stuff, do. Next week, we are going to be here, and I had my calendar up, but I took it down. Forgive me for a second, guys. Next week, we are going to be here with Daniel James, of course. Daniel James from Tragic Hero Productions, an amazing guy. He had me and a few other channelers join him for a short movie he did. When I met him back in the 2015 channel panel, he contacted me through another channeler, and me and him have become very good friends. He runs his own podcast. He runs a lot of great things. He's also a channeler, great guy. You're going to get to know him in a brand new way next week on the 7th of, I want to say September. Yeah, September. We'll go with September. He'll be here next week on the 7th, guys. After that, we got the one and only Lee Harris. And after that, Kalina Angel, and then all the other guests that we have. As time gets closer, we will announce those. We'll have the links and posters out for you. If you like what you're hearing here, you can always feel free to share the show with anybody who you think might be interested in it. We thank all of you for the donations tonight and throughout our time. We thank you all for the love and kind comments and part of the chat and everything that you guys do. I love all of you guys. I will see you next Wednesday on the Enlightenment Evolution Hour. See you on the other side, guys. Bye.